And that's why they call it the city that never sleeps. What's going on, everybody? This is the Coverbandconfidential podcast. The podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
So yes, right after we wrap up this sesh, I get back to packing because we're going to New York City, baby.
Ooh.
It's a short trip. We're going up tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and then we're coming back Thursday morning. It was going to be a bit longer. Wifey had a work thing come up, so she's got to fly from New York to Old York in the UK and spend a couple of days there. So we're just turning and burning. I like the idea of a short trip with the boys because they've never been before, and it's a good way to kind of kick the tires and say like, hey, you know, we're going to hit some high points and we're going to miss some stuff, and that'll give us all the reasons to try and go back some other time and do that. So feeling pretty good about it. What's going on with you, man?
Just kind of same old. It's, Indigenous Peoples Day. So I'm having a midday is one of our rare daytime recording sessions.
Yeah, I was like, hey, it's been a minute.
May seem perkier than usual.
The bad old days.
Yeah. But yeah, apart from that, not a ton going on.
Cool. So yeah, the main thrust of this trip is to go see a Broadway show. Never seen a Broadway show on Broadway. And we're going to go see Beetlejuice, which has just been revived.
Sweet.
Now, I've heard some murkiness about this. It's actually, so it's like Beetlejuice returns to Broadway, but it's not the Broadway cast. It's actually the touring cast playing in a Broadway house for 13 weeks.
Huh.
And not that touring companies aren't legitimate theater, because they absolutely are, but they're not getting paid Broadway pricing. They're getting paid touring pricing.
Oh.
And I didn't know that until last week.
Huh.
And I've had these tickets for months. So I do feel a way about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, performers' rights type thing. And
it is
what it is. But I'm going to try and not focus on that and just enjoy the show, because a lot of these people, they're making their Broadway debut in this show. And that's a big deal. And hopefully that's the thing that they are focusing on, and not on they're not making what they should be making.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was really a problem for them, they wouldn't be doing the show, right?
Yeah,
So.
Fair enough. Another thing that's coming up in about a month, I'll be going to Austin, Texas for a work thing. Don't know how much time I will have, but if you're in the Austin area and, maybe we can meet up for something, hit us up, coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. Not much socializing going on on the New York trip. I had a couple of guys reach out, and I was like, unless you want to drive me from the airport, there's probably not a lot of time for us to chill. Moving along, wanted to give an update on the keyboard thing. I want to thank each and every keyboard player that listens to this show, because I got so many awesome recommendations, both in the email, on the form submission on the website, and in the comments on the YouTube version of the episode. The thing that I really just did not quite fully grasp is the enormity of how expensive keyboards can be.
Yeah.
Because I knew that a Nord Stage 4 is going to be like a lot of money, but even like the next tier down is still a lot of money. You got to go pretty far down in the tiering before you get to, what I would consider affordable, I guess. But lots of cool recommendations. And unbeknownst to me, I got a message from Joey, our guitar player, and he was like, check this out. And he had a full main stage rig put together. He had an Alesis controller that he had laying around, and he had ended up taking the keytar that I got in my Alesis Vortex, isn't it?
Yes.
What it is?
Vortex, yeah.
So he put all that together and made a very decent deal. And he was like, I'm going to give this to MK this week and, let her see what she can pull out of it. So
cool.
I was like, sweet. That's $0.00 out of my budget, and fully workable. So excited about that. I also got some recommendations for a program called Gig Performer, which is, I think, the agnostic version of MainStage, basically. So it can run on Macs and PCs, whereas MainStage is like basically the Logic ecosystem, solely Mac exclusive. Yeah. And it can do things like, you can put your charts and stuff into it, so it's got a bit more bells and whistles. But kind of, from what I can glean, the band helper experience, built by musicians, and all of that, what that means.
Not UX experts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's that. But still kind of working through those things and logistics and all of that, and at least feeling like we're making forward momentum. And we got a rehearsal on the books, finally. It's been like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. Finally, we all landed on a date. And so that's coming up in a week or two. So getting ready to prep for this Stranger Things block party. hopefully not a lot of prep to do, because luckily I look through every season, and a lot of stuff we play is already like they do in the show. So
For sure.
trying to figure out the running up that hill portion though, because it's got to be in there.
Yes.
But it's a long song. It's a little meandery.
I have never tried to play it, but it feels structurally weird to me as I listen to it.
Yes. I feel like if we could get in and out of like a verse or two and a chorus.
Yeah.
But I need to know where it's coming out from and where it's going into. So if you are an 80s band out there that does Running Up That Hill and you've got a system, I am all ears. I could really use your help. And honestly, this show is 100% made for selfish reasons. I just want the best people, whoever they are, with great ideas, just to crowdsource stuff from. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I love that the keyboardists came through. There's been like a long time we've said, if you have any suggestions, whatever, hit us up. And it's kind of been crickets, but it's good to know that keyboardists have a lot of, a lot of stuff locked and loaded because they are looking for a gap in all of our guitar talk, maybe.
Yeah.
So terrific. Yes. Let us know what your thoughts are about that tune.
Well, and most certainly that if you play an instrument other than guitar, please send us requests for stuff, because it is what we're going to gravitate towards. It's what we know, but we will talk about anything, literally anything.
Yep.
Speaking of talking about stuff, let's hear other people talk about us, and we'll do a review. This is one of those things I discovered, and I feel like we do this every couple of months, where it's like, oh, I didn't know that you could leave information here. This was actually something that was left on the Patreon. They do this thing called a welcome survey, where like when you sign up for the Patreon, it's like, why did you sign up? And there's apparently a spot where you can write a comment or whatever. So this one comes from Arizona Mike, who recently joined the Patreon at the $5 tier. Said, love the podcast and all the great information you guys give every week. Every show has had something I've never thought about but have brought into my cover band. Cool. We have 2 hours worth of songs, and we feel ready to start playing more than backyard parties. So thanks for Mike for tuning in and leaving a comment. If you want us to talk about you, do that. Leave a review. Send us an email. Whatever you want to do.
Join the Patreon. There's an opportunity right there.
So speaking of which, wanted to catch you guys up on stuff we were talking about last week. I did find a little pocket of time to start recording the audition clips for this potential Skid Row situation. I've got 2 of 4 songs recorded. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to take the version that I recorded of I'll Remember You and put it on the free tier of the Patreon. So doesn't cost anything to join, but if you were curious about what's up over there, you can go and check that out. On that note, I did want to just throw it out there that we apparently have 134 bonus episodes up on Patreon. I mean, we've been putting them out pretty regularly. I just didn't know that there were that many.
Yeah.
That was totally a surprise to me. I was rooting through our analytics there, and I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of those. And
that is fully where the tea gets spilled. I mean,
oh, yeah. The hottest tea episode that we did, which was the pre-show, post-show with Alex from Victory Amps.
Yep.
And formerly of Orange and a bunch of other places.
Right.
Dude, that guy was like no holds barred. He named names. He was calling people out.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear some legit like TMZ level stuff, you should check that in the bonus episode backlog. Apparently you can like set individual episodes for sale, so for if you didn't want to do like the full $10 monthly deal. I may have to track that down and see if that's even an option for that one, because if you opt into any one of those episodes, it's that one.
Yeah.
Because like at some point Dan was like, are we allowed to keep this? And his face turned white.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh snap. No, we'll probably need to cut this out. I
thought we were just talking.
Yeah. Yeah. It was,
forgot we were rolling.
It was pretty phenomenal. So if you're in the mood for that, you should check that out. And hopefully I'll have that sorted, by the time this comes out. And let's see, last thing, let's do some housekeeping. We did hit 6,000 subs literally the day after, we recorded last week's episode, and 2.1 million views on YouTube. I'm still getting these emails with these benchmarks, but again, 2.1, you're like,
okay,
cool, I guess.
Wake me up at 2.5.
Yeah, I guess that's where we're at now. It's whenever the benchmark gets reset, like you just kind of adjust, you adapt to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. Just 2.1 million.
Yep.
Okay. This week, we've got a spoil of riches.
Well, and it's a correction from earlier this morning. We were like, we have nothing to say. What's happening this week? Don't know. Once again, the patrons come through.
Yeah. This is basically going to be a listener grab bag, but more specifically, it is a Patreon member Slack grab bag, which, I mean, it's easy to participate in. $5 a month, you can hop in, do that thing, or just send an email. But we got like a bunch of different topics, and we are fully stoked to like run through these. So let's start with Dean Ellerton, because I feel like he gets game ball for this one. He's with a group called Secondhand out of New Hampshire. And
it's like a dozen bullet points. It's
yes. He came with the heat. So we'll start at the top. My bands generally play bars and smaller places, bring our own PA. How to sound good, as we are asked to play quieter and quieter by owners. I'm a guitar player. I've moved to a modeler straight to the front of house. How do I get that to sound great at pretty low volumes? Should I even care? Just played a casino with a strict 90 dB limit, and the hunt of the place was already at about 80. So how do I make stuff sound good at low volumes is definitely something that if you play private events or these kinds of gigs, you've got to figure out.
Yep.
Typically, the biggest challenge to that is drums.
Right.
So,
and you need to have an E-kit. That's the way to do it.
Yep.
And you have to experiment with it enough to understand how it's going to sound at low volumes, because not all presets are going to survive that.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you're not there to sound great.
Mm-hmm. You're there to sound.
Yeah. The point is you're kind of putting on a show that the venue has structurally set you up to not be at your best at.
Yep.
And you just have to kind of eat that.
Yeah. I would say that whatever presets you are using for any of your instruments or even vocals, make sure that they have compressors on them.
Yeah.
Because the thing that you aren't going to be able to play with a lot when the volume levels are set that low is dynamic range. Yeah. So you kind of need things to be as consistent as possible.
Right.
That's really what it boils down to.
Right.
So make sure that, if your amp presets have some sort of compression on them, whether that's happening in the modeler or through front of house, just to make sure that the signal is as consistent as possible.
Yeah. And then rehearse quiet and record it.
Yep.
I don't know. I have a hard time hearing how things really are while I'm playing. It distorts my hearing.
Yeah.
To be also focused on performance, or even rehearsing. So record it, make sure it kind of holds together, and then go have the fun you can have.
Yes. Main thing is everybody needs to go direct. I know that stings, but you just kind of have to do it.
Yep.
I mean, we have played in tiny rooms. Like I'm looking at you've been here in the office. Yep. We've played venues this size.
Yeah.
And you have to make do. Mm-hmm. And I thought we sounded pretty stinking good based on what I was getting back. But it is kind of weird where like you can still kind of hear the slaps of the drums hitting the pads and stuff.
Yes.
Even over it.
Yeah.
But that's what the client wanted. They were happy. The check cleared. That's what we came to do. And moving to modelers was like the first step in that process. And, we have, that decision has paid us in dividends. Sure. without a doubt. So get some good sounds, make sure that they're well compressed and as consistent as possible. And you do your best. Let's see. I'm going to move over to Adam Z. I really liked this one.
Yep.
Adam Z's got a band called You've Got 90s, also in the New York, New Jersey area. And the thing that he's been thinking about is the acoustic spinoff concept. In the COVID era, we did a few acoustic duo trio gigs simply because they were available, but we stopped offering that because it felt like the quality of our acoustic show was never as high as the full band show. It needed more of a plan, whereas we were just kind of winging it, which is super relatable. Mm-hmm. As a favor to a friend, we are doing a block party this Saturday as an acoustic trio, so it's bringing these thoughts back up. How can we adapt to an acoustic setting without diluting our brand? Do we shift entirely towards acoustic standards or try to adapt some of our higher energy medleys and arrangements into acoustic format? That sort of thing. So I don't necessarily think that it's one or the other. Like, I don't think starting an acoustic project dilutes the brand at all.
Nope.
And actually, as far as the 90s thing goes, it's actually very in-brand because you just go, You've Got 90s unplugged. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it. That's the brand.
Yep.
Now, as far as like the material, like you're going to have to play that one by ear, literally. Some stuff works really well in that format and some stuff just doesn't. And you're going to have to it's going to take a little bit of iteration, a little bit of, trial and error to get to that point. And I would think long and hard about what makes the higher energy medleys and those things that you think are quintessentially You've Got 90s. What is the thing that's in there? And can that be repurposed, repackaged? Because the thing I think that a lot of people struggle with is that when they do this whole acoustic thing, they basically say, okay, we're playing our show with different instruments.
Right.
And that's just that's not the same thing.
No, it's an opportunity to reinterpret. It's an opportunity to make it yours again in this format.
Right.
And you kind of have to, because a lot of the stuff you play wasn't originally recorded acoustic. You're doing an interpretation of it, but that's part of what's cool about it.
Yeah. So it is going to be different, and it's supposed to be. And
yes.
if it's not, then you actually kind of fuck up to a degree.
Yeah, well, that's when it's going to fail. That's when
Yeah.
it's not going to work, is because you are in the mindset of an electric band with an acoustic guitar around your neck.
Right.
It's got to be its own thing, and I think I agree with you. It strengthens the brand if it's its own thing done well and marketed correctly.
Yes.
Expectations set properly with the audience.
So yeah, as far as Adam goes specifically, I think the real question is, do you plan on doing this long term?
Right.
And if you do, this particular season, we're kind of winding down the year. It's probably a good time if you wanted to spend some time and effort to do that. I had come up with this concept called the members only lounge, where we would do that kind of stuff. And we did, I think, one version of it. And I thought that's what the venue wanted. And they were like, this is not at all what we wanted. We wanted you to do the 80s thing just in a smaller form. I was like, oh, well, that's definitely not.
Didn't do that.
Yep. Didn't do that. So in that scenario, it was just like, we didn't know what we didn't know, because it was the first time we had tried it. And this was a billion years ago. In this case, it's a block party. It doesn't really matter. And you're just there to fulfill that need. But, it is a good way to play indoors when you mostly play outdoors, especially in colder climates. So there's that. You can play in places that, the band can't play. It's a good way to fill out your calendar, your schedule, and, keep things moving when things are a bit slow. So if I think it's worth pursuing. And sure. I think that it should have some of the stuff that your band is known for that makes them unique, but it should also kind of be its own thing.
Yeah. And it's wise to think of it as an expansion of your product offering, right? You've just increased your SKUs by one. You can now talk to different kinds of venues. You can, it's a good thing to do. Well,
and it's not one SKU. It could be like potentially
3, 4. Yeah. You can do it a bunch of different ways.
Duo, totally. Trio,
totally.
All of that. I mean, for a 90s band, you could get like a cello player.
Sure.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
Back then. So yeah, it could be like an enhancement, a yes and to what you've got going on. So I would say if you have the time between now and Saturday, which you probably don't because it's Monday now, work through some stuff, see what works the best. But I would think that if you took the time, whatever, that the set list would overlap with your main band gig to a degree, but it wouldn't be one for one.
Right.
So some stuff and other stuff that isn't on that. So cool. Let's see here. We're going back to Dean here, talking about modelers. What do you bring as backup for digital systems, modelers, mixers, and that kind of stuff? How do you CYA? The answer for that is probably not great. A lot of people just don't.
Right.
Now, with my modeler, I do have the NUX Mighty plug. I do just kind of throw that in the pedal board bag, just in case, because it can do clean and dirty and a couple of other things passably to a degree. So, if push came to shove, I could use that.
Yeah, I don't travel with more than one modeler, even though I know that it's a risk. The one time that bit me, and I had to really do a quick Hail Mary to make the show happen. I still won't. I'm going to get a machine that I can rely on and have a lot of faith in, and that means it'll bite me again when it fails. Yeah. So
the idea that I had is that if whenever the Helix Stadium works its way down to a similar form factor as the Stomp, I will probably procure one and just keep my Stomp. Yeah. And then that becomes the backup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. As far as like mixers and stuff goes, same kind of deal. We've been in scenarios where we've had equipment failure pre-gig or whatever, like where I had to go to Guitar Center and rent a QSC K12 short notice. It's hard though, because in a lot of these scenarios, like you don't have cartage to carry multiples of things.
Right.
But I've been approached by people wanting the X32 rack that we are no longer using for our front house, and I'm a bit ambivalent on selling it.
I still have both of the mixers that I've upgraded out of. No big plans to use them, but it makes me feel good to have them. Although the reality is, if I got to a show and my main mixer was not talking to me, I would probably reach for, I have a 10-channel just notebook mixer.
Yeah.
That's just analog, and I would just use that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's ways around it if if push comes to shove. I mean, when things go wrong is when that's how you prove your worth.
That's right.
What can you get by with, in those moments.
Yeah.
And as far as like others, like we have playback backups of things, we've done, if one iPad doesn't work or one system doesn't work, we'll crack open another one or use a laptop or whatever. Like there should just be some sort of, even if it's not formal, some sort of loose like contingency for these kinds of things, because guitar strings break and there's no difference between that and a cable going bad or whatever. So you should build in as much redundancy as you can manage. I take at least 2 guitars to every gig. I very rarely play more than 1 guitar.
Yeah.
And part of the reason of just packing it is just to ensure that it doesn't go bad. Because it only goes bad when you don't have something to fall on.
Yeah, I have two guitar gig bag.
Yep.
Front and back, and so I always do carry 2, even though one of them almost never comes out of that bag.
Yeah.
Last acoustic show I played, that birthday party a couple of weeks ago, I had like a premonition that I was going to break strings. I haven't broken a string on that guitar in I don't know, a long, long time. But it also hasn't seen new strings in a long, long time.
Right.
I just rifled through the backpack, the Diodario backpack, and realized I don't actually have a pack of strings in this. I should do that. And I had to put together a 6-pack of strings from open packs, so they're not even
orphans.
Yeah. But I managed to assemble one and took it, and then by God, about 4 songs in, I broke a string, which is weird.
Yeah.
So have strings.
Always have strings.
Always have strings.
Strings, picks, cables. Yeah. Always. If you have female and male lead singers, do you structure set lists around boy, girl, or do you just make a set list and let it fall as it does? We both are in that scenario, so yes. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I don't think of that as the first thing that I consider as I'm building a set list. I think about flow and energy.
Yep.
And then I have the songs in Band Helper colored to each who's singing them. And sort of once I've got a show I look back at the color mix. And if it's out of whack, or there's a big long stretch of just one person, I want to give them a break, I revisit the set list with that as a second ordering criterion.
Yes. That's kind of how we do it. What I end up doing is I just show it to Amber because, she feels it more. Because I think the thing, it depends on what the role of each person is. Because like when I'm not singing, I'm working.
You're still busy.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you are primarily a vocalist and that's what you do, then when you are on stage for a long stretch of time and not working, like you just kind of feel like you're standing there. So I think in the grand scheme of things, it typically balances out. In our show, there are typically blocks where they're going to be kind of her heavy and then kind of me heavy. And it just kind of at some point balances out. Mm-hmm. I like the way that you put it. It's not your primary focus, but it is a secondary focus once the primary has been handled.
Yep.
Man, they're still coming in. This is fantastic. Let's see. How many, if any, slow songs do you play in an hour-long bar set? Depends on the bar.
Yeah.
If I'm by myself, almost all of them are going to be slow songs.
That's right. In the band context, the answer might be 0.
Yeah. Typically for like the 80s band, we do Time After Time. That's
Sure.
kind of our slow one.
Sure. We end with Purple Rain. That's kind of our slow one.
Yeah. And for us, it's normally, we kind of flip-flop. It's either going to be, if we do 2 in a night, we'll do 1 in set 1, 1 in set 2, and the other one's going to be I'll Be Watching You by the Police.
Yep.
But there are dozens of shows that we do every year where not a single slow song makes it to the list.
Yep.
But like we do 80s proms, and so you kind of have to do a couple of strictly couple type videos, songs. Ooh, here's a good one. This is hotly debated. 3-hour bar gig, 3 sets or 2 sets?
2.
2.
Not so hotly debated, it turns out.
Well, yeah, the least amount of downtime possible. And listen, I know bands that do 3 hours straight, 4 hours straight, no breaks.
I could play straight through. When I'm acoustic, I often do. I think that an audience needs a break.
Yeah.
More than a band. I mean, hopefully everyone peed before we went up on stage, right? But that's not always a given. I had a bassist vanish on me mid-set one time. But I think a room does need a break. I think that's helpful, and I think it's a good marketing opportunity. You go around and shake hands and say, "Hey, I love how much you dancing," whatever.
Yeah.
But don't do it twice. Do it once.
Yep, agreed. If you can stack it towards the front of the evening, I would, because what typically can happen is, depending on when you start. Let's say you start like 8. You're catching the tail end of the dinner audience and then the front end of the bar audience. And so if you do it within like the first maybe hour, 90 minutes, that does give the venue time to kind of switch over. It gives the dinner people a good excuse to maybe like dip out, just
or transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a guy who puts line dances in his music for the break time, and it's perfect. This crowd stays engaged while you're off doing something else. Yeah,
and hopefully when you start back up, they don't go sit down.
Right.
Like, oh no, the fun part's over.
Right.
All right, let's move on to more logistical things. This next topic is something I'm quite familiar with. If you're the band leader and get paid by check, do you pay the players in cash that night or ask them to wait to whenever you get around to it? I'm definitely team latter.
Oh, I'm team former.
Okay.
Just because I usually can swing it, and so I float them the pay we promised, and the check clears when it clears.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. Right. What happened in our scenario is that we got paid for a gig that's coming up in November in March. And so I'm a little nervous about like where money is and whether like, I was like, is this my money or is this their money? Right. And I don't want to necessarily pay the band in advance either, just because like, I think I can handle, deferring the compensation on that, where I feel like if you play the gig, like you should feel the immediate reward of here is the thing that you've earned. So I get what you're saying 100%. Where I am just in the finance department is like, I'm just scared that I'm giving away other people's money.
Sure. Yeah, no, I do it night of. I get home from the gig and I hit Venmo and I distribute money then.
Yeah. And that's how we do it too, is it's all digital. Like very rarely is cash involved unless we get like some crazy tip and there's enough of that cash to go around.
Right.
Very rarely would, physical currency exchange hands.
Right.
Let's see here. Now, this is, I feel like, an existential question that none of us can really answer. So band members are all in their 50s and 60s. So is the audience. People are going out earlier and going home earlier. How do we get bars to learn that? That's a great question.
I'm surprised that bars aren't learning that by watching their revenue happen.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's true. I know that it's true of that demographic. I think it's true of more than that demographic these days. I think there's a lot of pull away from the late night party scene that we saw maybe a decade ago.
Yep.
Maybe less. I think the pandemic changed people's going out behavior in a pretty radical way. Mm-hmm. And I think it is generally earlier. And I'm, if a bar wanted me to play till 2, I wouldn't take that gig, first of all. And I would I'd be surprised that they have people there at 2. As far as I have been able to see, not that I'm there to see it at 2, to be fair. But I'm hearing a lot that earlier is when the money's getting made. So.
Yeah. Well, even with the that after party we did, I mean, we did play until almost 2 a.m., but we started later, but it was like it was a built-in crowd.
Right.
And even towards the end, like they were starting to filter out, like it was, people were tired.
Yeah, and it was specifically an after party. Like it was,
right.
It was meant, that you wouldn't do that in a general.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time we've played past midnight.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Right.
And for us, we're probably going to end up trying to land more club dates, over the next couple of months. Because again, business just kind of shifts as it starts to cool off. Like right now, playing outdoors is like the greatest thing ever because it's gorgeous out and everybody wants to be outside. And that's why like October is like wall-to-wall events and stuff. I actually went to Oakhurst Porch Fest, which was in down kind of towards Decatur in Atlanta. And got to see Philip from 40 Watt Podcast. He drove all the way from Mississippi to play this gig.
Wow.
And then I ran into listener of the show, Dylan Kite, who I used to work with at the Apple Store. His band was playing. And I literally just I parked my car over by where my friends were. And I was with our 10-year-old. And he was like, hey, the music's that way. So we're just kind of following the noise. And sure enough, we just rolled up on him just purely by happenstance.
Cool.
So it was cool to say hey to him and catch up and on all that. But he was just like, he had just listened to that week's episode, so he was like stoked about the Disney app and like the audition stuff and all of that. And I was like, it's weird because like, I haven't seen him in forever, but like he knows everything that's been going on because he keeps up with the show.
That's good.
And in most cases, that's like, it feels like a parasocial relationship. It's like, it's not. It's like we know each other in real life. It's just like, your social circle and just the way that you interact with folks. So
yeah,
interesting stuff. Last but certainly not least, how do you deal with a real small stage?
Ugh,
you just grit your teeth, really.
Yeah, you get through it. Yeah.
The tiny venue thing that we did, I have to be real careful because, like, from a guitar player standpoint, like, I was like, oh, I'll just play the Steinberger. Like, that's great. The only thing about that, though, is that because I use, like, the brass block at the end that locks the strings down, you clip the outside of the strings on the outside of the bar. So it's actually got, like, little sticky...
sharp little stabbies.
Yeah. So I have to weigh that against, how tight we are, in fact, because I've definitely gotten Amber in the, like, back meat of her elbow.
Yeah.
Which is, like, those... sharp ends of the string, that's not great.
Not good. It's not good.
Avoid that if possible.
I've definitely played somewhere like my bassist and I can't have to hold our guitars up because we're too shoulder to shoulder on the thing. I've played somewhere I took over the floor. So I left the stage as a drum riser.
Yeah.
And moved down onto the floor.
Yep. We've done that before.
Is okay as long as it's not one of those places where somebody's going to dance into your mic stand and trip over all your stuff.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, and the other thing that you typically do in those scenarios is you find ways to move your front line back as far as you can. So, like, in the scenario that I was talking about before, my pedal board was behind me. Not that it took up a ton of room, but if I wanted any sort of like lateral movement space, I needed that, additional 3 to 4 inches of clearance, in front of me to have any sort of like operating radius.
Yeah.
So, bring in as little gear as possible, dead case everything that, isn't absolutely essential. Pare down whatever you can, move things around so it makes sense and do your best.
Do your best.
I think that might be the tagline of this week's episode. Do your best.
Do your best.
A listener mailbag special.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, once again, I want to thank everybody in the Patreon Slack for dropping in, specifically Dean. Dean got almost all of his questions answered, and the only ones that we didn't get to were ones that we thought were a little too meaty. It probably could be their own episode. So that's probably what will end up happening. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating. We couldn't do without you guys. If you'd like to support the show, you can do any of the things you're about to hear about. I'll go ahead and call it for this week. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
You have been listening to the Coverbandconfidential podcast for the week of October 17th, 2025.